Well, welcome to episode number 1 of the Inner Compass. This is going to be a podcast series where Scott Kidd and I go deep on the inner compass, the things that start with mindset and what we do to navigate ourselves to a better place in life. So this is episode number 1. Scott's going to introduce himself and I'm going to go next. So stay tuned. This is going to be a great series. No telling how long this series will go. But we're going to go deep on this subject because we've had 2 podcasts together and they've been absolutely awesome. And I can't wait to continue to do this and help other people. So, Scott, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, hey, thanks again, man. I'm really excited about this because, we've had some, not just on our podcast, but, on just conversations in person and just on the phone and stuff. We always seem to go off on the same mindset stuff. But I'm Scott Kidd, been a yacht captain the last 20 plus years, been on yachts for 25 plus years, on the boat right now, headed north. And been in real estate syndication for the last 5 plus years. Been doing some real estate before that, but had a few different types of businesses and stuff. And really get into to really kind of help me so much just to focus on my mindset and change my overall way of thinking. And I know that it will help a lot of other people. So that's why
Yeah,
I'm really excited about doing this.
absolutely. And you have a podcast also currently.
Yes.
The name
Yeah.
of that
The
podcast?
the Yacht Captain Investor podcast, which Eddie's been on before,
Yeah.
and I've been on his podcast. And like I said, it's just been some great conversations, and I'm looking forward to doing more of this.
Yeah, we connected here a while back in South Florida, and just that conversation just continued on how important the mindset is, and the different talks we've had, and the different things that we're involved in, and how much it really matters to kind of have the inner stuff right, and to have these talks with ourselves, and to also really focus on what changed us internally that made us want to be good externally at what we do. So, Eddie Austin here. I run the Eddie Austin BEX show YouTube channel. And, I have a wild background. I was a welder at 12 years old, and that was my first skilled trade. I owned a metal fabrication and hot rod shop. I've been developing real estate since I was a young man with my dad. And then I've been in real estate, single family fix and flips a little over 20 years and done countless syndications and a couple funds now. And we buy large multifamily, same as Scott does. And it's all about helping other people. Like I'm in the help business. That's all I want to do is help other people. And sometimes it's not about the money that somebody can put with you. It's about the time you spend with somebody. So Scott and I have very busy lives. We are pretty well retired with what we want to do from corporate America. So we're blessed to have this time here together today and just kind of go over, the inner stuff, the inner compass. So Scott, what would you say was the number one thing that really changed in you that kind of set the temperature, the thermostat, and then kind of set the compass to the right place?
Well, it was just a lot of times where you get bogged down in life, and you feel like a lot of things are just against you and pushing you in a lot of different directions that you don't want to. I'd been through a few heavy things in my life, and then I noticed that every time that something happened, when I focused on the problem and kind of took a step back and and focused on who do I need to be that solves this problem.
Yes.
Not necessarily all the other stuff. When I started forgetting about all the other things outside and just kind of said, who am I and who do I need to be? And then I started taking a look back at all the times that I got past a lot of different problems. It was because I made a conscious decision, and even sometimes a subconscious decision based on just how I talked to myself and how I, envisioned getting past all these things. And it really made me take a hard look in the mirror that, hey, the only way that I'm going to get past this is if I change into someone that is able to get past this. And the thought process was that, that, hey, these thoughts and the way I talk to myself matters. If I tell myself I'll never get past this, or this I'll never get over this. This is the worst situation in my life. Probably wouldn't have gotten past any of those things,
Yeah.
and it just kind of drove me to keep going no matter what it is at all costs, by any means necessary. And a lot of times that's what it takes when you're looking for that external guidance and that external thing that's going to change, or I need this to happen before I can get to this point. But it's really that you need to be that person that gets past that already, and you need to decide and make that conscious choice that, hey, I am that person. And
Yeah.
it's very difficult to get to that position, but it's really that simple.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And my mind's racing here, so I want to try and gather my thoughts. Is you know, even this week for me, we all get impatient, right? And we
Yeah.
all want to physically be at a material place, but there's just some reason we haven't got to this material place, or something like that, and it's really sometimes disheartening, and it's hard to be patient for
Yeah.
that. But what we don't realize is there's so much more inner work that we have to do, whether that's, physical health, mind, body, spirit, or maybe it's just becoming closer with being patient and silent for a minute and just let go of the external noise and just focus within. And then from that standpoint, you can achieve more exterior. But, for instance, this week I was really pushing hard to just close some deals and get some more stuff across the finish line. And I was really kind of getting bogged down by the way it wasn't working.
Hmm.
And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, wait a minute, Eddie, based off previous business deals and previous things, are you ready for that? Are you ready for that amount of workload you're going to put on yourself? Are you ready for the things that could come of this? Me personally, I say yes, but interior,
Yeah.
probably not.
Yeah.
But
You're like, holy cow. You're
yeah,
like,
if
am
let's
I?
just be honest with ourselves for a minute. If every single thing that I was working on become true today, who would it make me as a person? Do I have the inner compass set to the right heading?
Hmm.
Just like you're steaming north right now. And when you think about, this is way out in advance, so this is probably going to speak to the divers or to the our pilots, our yacht captains here, is like that lubber line of the compass. Like when we set that, and there's external things that kind of push us around.
Hmm.
You've got wind, you've got tide, you might have a rudder that's a little bit off, something there that maybe cause us to, over a long distance, really veer off track.
Hmm.
And if we're not really paying attention to that heading, really staying true north, where could you end up?
Yeah, it's one of those things that I tell people, that, especially when I'm on the boat, or it's just one of those things where a kind of overwhelming feeling of simplicity comes over me. One is peace. It's other than being with my family and stuff, it's probably my favorite place to be is at sea, and
Yeah,
especially when the weather's nice or even if it's bad, you know, because I have just one thing to do, and that's to get everyone there safely.
yeah,
So I've tried to instill that in the rest of everything that I'm doing in my personal life and stuff, just to be present with, hey, this is my focus at this moment, at this time. Like, hey, we're going to close this deal, or we're focusing on getting some JV equity sources today. That's what we're doing. That's all we're doing, and we're going to go at it until we get it done. So
yeah.
it's one of those things where complexity can't scale. You have to get simple to solve
Right.
problems, and it's just something that, because we all, like you were saying, you had all these things going on this week and everything, and I was doing a lot of that this past week as well, because we're getting ready to leave, and I had bunch of real estate stuff going on, stuff with my family. My daughter was there and getting pulled in a lot of different directions, but I had to kind of put things aside other than the family stuff to say, okay, well, my daughters are here right now, so I have to make the best of that time. And then when that was clear, it was time to go on the boat, so I have to make that my focus. And
Hmm.
it takes a lot of patience. You have to have patience with yourself, because I know I do, because like you were saying, and I've resonated with that, where you're saying, yeah, you want to do all these things, and it you get it gets to a point for me sometimes where I get kind of jumbled, and I have to take a step back and go back to that simplicity, or else I end up having a bunch of open projects, or un,
Yeah.
undone tasks, or unfinished business with my family, or something like that. You can't do it all at that same time.
Yeah.
You have to be present with that one focus. So that's just something that I focus on. It makes me get clear again, especially when I'm on the water, because there's nothing else I can think of other than that's the main goal.
Yeah. Well, Mark Cuban in his book, The Sport of Business and How to Play It, he's got some like the 12 Mark Cuban rules or the Cuban rules in there. And, one of the ones I got some good laughs out of that, but they were so true. And one of the ones that really resonated with me is win the first battle before starting the second one.
Yes.
I could not tell you how many
Yeah.
battles that I've fought that, I'm sitting here going, man, if I could just fight one battle at a time, I bet I could conquer it so quick,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is like, you want to start all these different things. You want to go all these
Yeah.
different directions, but man, you're maybe not finished with this first one you've
Yeah.
started. It just has proved itself
Yeah.
a non-passionate journey
Yeah.
that it's not going to make you much money. It's not going to give you much time freedom, and you're deciding to go a different direction. And at that very moment, you're like, okay, I'm going to go start this one, but
Yeah.
you got to finish this first one. You got to
Yeah.
close that door.
Yeah. Most definitely, because if you don't close that door, it's still open, and then
Yeah,
who knows what comes in from that.
yeah,
It just might be an open door, but it's still. And I know whenever I have open projects or something that's open and I left open, and then next thing you know, it's two or three things.
yeah,
Man, that burns me up so bad. I'm like, man, why didn't I finish? Why didn't I just finish that? I got to 90%.
yeah, yeah,
Why didn't I just do that last 10% and just close that out? Because like you said, you just have to close it out. And
yeah,
I know it'll bug me to when something's left unfinished. It's just something, I guess, I learned from when I was a kid from my parents is, you go to completion, finish it, do the best you can, do it till you're done, and then do
hmm,
something else. But sometimes we get excited, like you're saying, about all these different things, the shiny objects, or the just something else that all of a sudden you get really fired up about, and then suddenly you move away from that one task. And it's just something that you have to have patience with yourself again to move back to that thing. Hey, let's just close this out. It's only going to take a little bit more, and
yep,
we'll be done with it, and then that'll be it.
yep,
It's something that I relearn all the time. It's that battle. It's that same battle fatigue syndrome that you want to just keep battling,
yeah,
but you really have to take a step back sometime and say, what is the purpose here? Which ones of these am I going to just let go, and which ones am I going to close out? It's going to be these
yeah.
three, or just this one.
Well, it seems like when we fight every small battle, it just wears us down for the big battle that we don't even know is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, for instance, there's been tons of little small battles I was fighting with different little business ventures. And there was a big one that I was avoiding or procrastinating on because I was trying to just fix all these little things that was going on. And if I would have fixed the one big thing that I was
Mm-hmm.
procrastinating on, it would have automatically, just ceased every other problem going on. Because,
Mm.
I'm a huge proponent of and believe in this that if you have a problem and money can solve it, you don't have a problem. you have a money
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem to solve that is not an issue. If it can be solved with money, you just need to figure out how to make more money or allocate more money to that and fix it. And most of the time, money can fix problems. And that's why we focus so much on real estate ventures and doing what we do to, create the amount of money to solve the problems in our own lives and in others' lives as well. So it's a huge thing to really choose the right battles, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then finish the battles that are most important.
Yes. I mean, finishing those battles is, I would say, is so much more important than choosing the battles. I mean, but if you have that one big battle, I know we all fall, we all fail ourselves by procrastinating and doing all the busyness rather than the business that we need to get done. That business that is that one task, which seems like is maybe a little overwhelming, but when you get in there and you take that first step or make that first decision, and then when you finally get past it, you probably look back a few months later and you go, that really wasn't that bad, and I should have just gotten it done.
Yeah, it didn't take that
Why did
long.
I waste all that time
Right,
doing
right.
that? But it's we that it goes back to that inner compass and that inner talk of like, well, I don't know. We kind of make ourselves busy with all these other things so that we're not actually dealing with that one main thing that we should really just get it done, and then the rest of the stuff probably won't be that prevalent in our lives anyway.
Yeah, of course. I think episode 2, really, we should get into kind of the roadmap. And when you
Yeah.
start to plan a journey, that really comes down to is where are you going? What resources do you need to get there? Fuel on board, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, how long is it going to take? I think that
Yeah.
a lot of us, including myself, I get really I procrastinate on some things because I believe that they're going to take too long.
Yes.
But yet I've never done the groundwork to creating the inventory or creating the plan to say how long will this journey take and what resources do I need to get there?
Yeah, and I know procrastinating. Actually, I did. There was something funny I saw on Instagram where it was about asking yourself the hard questions, and it said to put these certain questions in. And one of the things that I know that holds me back, that I hold myself back with, is procrastination and stuff. And it said you procrastinate because, and I forget the exact answer, but it was because you of succeeding and afraid of failing at the same time. So it
Yeah,
was, you were afraid of what comes next, like you were talking about, like if all these things worked out, then what? I kind of, throughout my life, I've gotten more overwhelmed with the fact of success than actually a failure. Failure, I can take that. I
yeah,
got broad shoulders. I can take a hit. I've
right.
taken some good ones.
Yeah,
So, most of them self inflicted.
that's
From poor life
usually the
choices.
biggest ones is like, dang, I think I caused a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah. The self infliction from poor life choices. I've
Yeah,
I've made those, especially when I was young, and
yeah,
sometimes when I was a little bit older. But hopefully, I didn't repeat any of them. But
yeah,
those, that procrastination due to, fear of success was actually, I found to be actually bigger with myself than the fear of failure, because I guess failure is, I can see mistakes and I can see how I did it, but like success, like a big success, is like, what is that going to look like? You know what I mean? That's that, and I've done some hard thinking about that and some meditations and just thinking about that, and it's like, hey, success is okay. It's okay to be good at something. It's okay to
yeah,
to
yeah,
win. Let yourself celebrate the win, and that's something that I know that I don't do as much as I should. Like, I'll get to something and then I'll just move immediately into the next thing, rather
yeah,
than going, "Hey, good job. You did these things." Go back and analyze what it took you to get to that success, because
yeah,
the same way that you analyze your failures, try to grow from that. Analyze what it took for you to be successful in that thing, because that's really important too. Because hey, that's a repeatable process also.
Right. Well, I think it's documenting the journey, maybe journaling a
Yeah.
little bit on wins and losses.
Yeah.
Both of them wrote down would be a powerhouse wealth of knowledge, because if you could compare your A notes to
Hmm.
winning to your B notes of losing,
Yeah.
and you're like, all right, well, I did this set of things and I won at this. I did this set of things and I lost at this. And then you start drawing a line and comparing them. You're like, yeah,
Okay.
so I didn't show up every day
Yeah.
and in
Yeah.
plan
Yeah.
B,
Yeah.
and I did in plan A. I never missed a shot.
Yeah.
If I missed a shot, I just kept shooting,
Yeah.
and that was the biggest thing was, you know, just let's take a segue for a minute. I've recently fell in love with. I've always said my hobby is business, and it's,
Hmm.
I was a good bowler, really good pool player. I could have played pro at both of those and probably had a pretty wild journey with it, but I didn't take that path. And then I got good at racing, and I really got good at anything that I applied myself to. And then really I got good at business, and that became my hobby.
Hmm.
Well, that hobby, you know, just like this morning, my wife got onto me like I was not even out of bed yet, and she was up early, and I'm already talking about how I'm going to grow this next vertical in this community. And she's like, "You have to stop this. You absolutely, you haven't, you haven't done your morning routine, and you've said good morning and everything else. I'm not getting on to you for being a bad person. What I'm saying is you're immediately to work, like, and your feet ain't even on the floor yet." So recently, I started doing this PRS shooting, which is a precision rifle series,
Okay.
and we shoot from 4 to 1,200 yards,
Wow.
and it's time stages. Like you've got roughly 90 seconds to take a shot, and you have to. So you're standing up, rifles unloaded with a flag in it. You got a clip, and you've got 10 rounds in the clip, and these are high-powered rifles. They're big scopes and everything,
Hmm.
and you know, shooter understands the course. You remove your flag. Yep, understand the course. Load and make ready. So you load and make ready, and then the timer goes off, and then you might, kind of go out to the target or go out to your stage, and you might lay on a rooftop and then engage in a very uncomfortable position, of course.
Hmm.
And then you have to engage, find and engage the target, and then close the bolt, make the shot, two shots on that target, and then move to a different position or identify a different target and do that shot. Well, recently, I had done a ton of practice, and I went out and shot a match, and I completely sucked at it. And I did better than my first match, but not the improvement that I was looking for. And really, what it come down to when I started analyzing why I did better at the other match and why I did worse at this match, I had some things honed in on plan B,
Hmm.
but I did not practice enough with the ammo that I was loaded with that day. So I didn't understand when the day got hotter outside, because I was practicing when it was cold, and I had
Uh-huh.
everything wrote down. I knew everything that was going on, no big deal. But when it got warm and I was using this different ammo, I started missing targets. Bullet was, dead center, right over the top of it.
Hmm.
It really made me think about that. Just now, I was thinking about, man, like plan A and plan B, or the win and the lose. What was the differences? And the difference
Hmm.
is this one, I practiced hard. I understood my ammunition. I understood everything. This one, I went into it with not having all my data,
Hmm.
but having more resilience and a little more bullheadedness that
Hmm.
I've got the skills to do this no matter what.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. So just that analyst of, okay, what did I do here? And it worked.
Hmm.
What did I do here? And it didn't work. What changed? What was the conditions? I think sometimes I would have to say a lot of the condition that changed was the inner,
Hmm.
because I
Definitely.
believed I was going to win that match.
Yeah. Most
But
definitely.
the
Yeah.
line item was is I might didn't have the data
Yeah.
to match the mindset.
Yeah. You had the inner confidence and the ego strong enough to where you had it won, but you didn't have enough data, or you didn't. you kind of, because of that, you thought, well, you were going to overcome whatever the challenge was. And sometimes that's enough, but but that day it was not. I remember you were talking about this at the conference a little bit about shooting and stuff and adjusting for the wind and stuff,
Yeah.
and that because it was so far, and like the wind here at 400 yards is going to be different at 1200.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that a lot because like in on sailboats and stuff, like the wind here, like you see some of these guys in these races, I mean, we see it a lot when we're out on the boat, is you see like might be a couple 100 feet off, there's a wind line,
Hmm.
and so you're probably looking for, leaves moving or something, even grass moving or something further out, and you're
Yeah.
probably looking at a lot of different things to take it in. So that's there's a whole lot of planning and stuff that goes into it, and but there's also that inner planning that you have to do, that like, have I exhausted every resource to where I know that I'm going to win this? And if you
Yep.
say yes, you have to be okay with the result if you don't, because at the end you're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, I didn't account for the heat,
Right.
and it's, but that's how you get better.
Yeah.
You know that, hey, you're fallible, because there was a book that I read by a guy I work for, Pleased But Not Satisfied, and
Mm.
he said that you have to be, uh, big egos are one thing, to where if you override everyone and you have a really big ego, that's kind of can be a bad thing. But you have to have a big enough ego to have confidence to know
Yeah.
that you can overcome those challenges. It went into like, that's a fine line of being maybe a jerk or being enough, finding that inner compass, that inner balance, that direction, that like, okay, I have what I need. Now I just have to have the confidence to go and do the task and be
Yep.
okay with whatever the result is. Because
Yep.
at that point, it's not whether you win or lose, but it's that, hey, I'm prepared and I'm going for it.
Yep.
And that's, sometimes it's, you still have that underconfidence where you're like, well, I don't know, because maybe you've never been there before, and stuff like that. But if you take that first step, you're like, well, tell your brain, hey, we're doing this. Then your
Yep.
brain's going to switch over and go, okay, what do
Yeah.
we need to do?
Yeah. Well, the
Eddie's
thing
not
was,
Eddie's not walking out.
right, right. Well, the thing was, is immediately after, I'm like, I got to change all my equipment. Like, I got to
Yeah,
change the caliber I'm shooting because it'll be less recoil. I got to do all these different things. And what I think my ego was trying to do was avoid looking in.
yeah,
And Eddie, you were the mistake. Like,
yeah,
you were overconfident and you didn't physically say, "Hey, I need to keep practicing. I
yeah,
need to practice at yardage. I need to practice at temperature. I need to practice to get better." Because here's the funny part. After the match was over, I had quite a few rounds left over because I timed out on some stages because of some other issues I was having with the rifle that day. I readjusted and slowed things down. I hit every target I shot at.
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dang. And it was just surreal. And then when of course, I left, I'm like, all right, I need to go to the gun shop. I need to have it
Yeah,
spin me up a different barrel. I need to change my setup. Well, here's the real thing. There's nothing wrong with my setup. The only
mm-hmm.
setup was the operator,
Mm-hmm.
the guy pulling the trigger, the guy making the adjustments. That was the problem.
Yes,
But the ego is like, no, no, no. It's my equipment. It's the
mm-hmm.
circumstance. It's everything else. It's not me. But
Yeah,
that's not the truth. It's not the truth at all. And I think sometimes we tell ourselves those lies that it's
yeah.
like,
We
oh, no, no,
we
no. It was, he had a better lucky chance at this. It was his ammunition shot better. It's always not you. But I think it's really hard to look in the mirror and go, no, it's me. It's,
yeah, it's me, because what I got from that, when you said that you hit every target, and after it was over, so it's obviously you compensated and you had what you needed. You just, you weren't prepared, or you hadn't practiced enough, but
right,
you by doing those shots and not winning, you saw what you needed to do.
right,
So it was definitely in you to win and to do it, because you did it.
right.
So
Well,
because
I
it's one of
think the
those things.
biggest sorry to interrupt. I think the
No, it's okay.
biggest thing is like I had every yardage and every target wrote down on what my adjustment should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed that was the right number. Like I was
Okay.
stuck at it that was the right number. And then
Mm.
after it was over, it's like, you're obviously wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And so instead of holding over because I'm shooting over the target, I'm starting to, because I've got mil
Drop them
dots
down.
inside my scope. And I'm like, what does it take to hit that target?
Yeah.
And I started aiming down and down. Well, I would notice I was 2 minutes off. I was
Mm.
2 minutes too high. And I'm like, okay, so I'm wrong. So then I went to this target and I held down, roughly a minute and a half and nailed it. And I'm like, so I wrote down the wrong numbers.
Mm.
I was the problem. And I think that's the thing that we have to like remind ourselves of is it's okay to be wrong. And
Yeah.
most likely we are.
Yeah.
And we have to admit that. And we have to go, okay, what does it take to win the race? What does it
Mm-hmm.
take to, like you're in kind of a water jet stream right now making record time. That takes some practice, right?
Yeah, it does. And like we go over and over and over again, but the weather is sometimes changes when you're out here, as you know, being in aviation and being a boater yourself. We have our calculations, but we make incremental adjustments along the way. And sometimes you go out too far in the stream and you get your butt absolutely handed to you. But fortunately, we didn't do that this time.
Yeah.
But you correct it. You make small corrections, and it's okay to be off a little bit and give yourself that that grace and say, okay, you didn't do what you were supposed to do or what you need to do, but it's okay. Here's what I need to do. Don't
Yeah.
because I used to when I was younger. I'm really hard on myself, like beat
Yep.
myself up over things that I just wouldn't let go.
Yeah.
But I learned that doesn't help me get any better.
Right.
It just
Right.
kind of beats myself down, and it expends a lot of extra energy because to be that negative, it takes a lot more energy than it does to take a step back and go, okay, you messed that one up. It's okay. What do you need to do to not do that again? Okay, do this, and this. Don't be around put yourself in that circumstance again. Don't be near those kind of things. But you I saw from your shooting example, you made the corrections and you hit every mark. Kind of like what we're doing heading north. It's a little bit of an adjustment, and we notice that when we're out here and we're already a day and a half out, and now another a storm popped up and it's behind us. And one things just from experience is that I always say, got to get around Hatteras, and we go as fast as we can to get around it, because once we get around it, then we're kind of virtually, it's kind of a mental thing, like home free, that we can
Yeah.
tuck in somewhere, or we can we can adjust along the way. The weather's usually not as bad. It can get pretty nasty out there, but that's just an experience thing. But we're not around there yet, so it
Yeah.
doesn't count.
No. Well, I know I'm originally from West Palm Beach, Florida, and I've made many, many trips from up north where I live to back south.
Yeah.
And it always seems that from Indiana to about south of Atlanta, it's a breeze of a trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's the second half from about the Georgia line to West Palm Beach. That's a drag.
Yeah.
It's the same amount of distance, but
Yeah.
it's like this mental thing that's like, man, that trip went by like that. It was we're
Yeah.
almost there, and
Yeah.
then something switches
Yeah.
internally, and you're like, are we there yet?
Yeah, because you can drive a long time in Florida.
It's almost as bad as Texas
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's
Kansas.
Texas and Kansas. I've done the drive from the border of roughly Port Arthur, Texas, out to El Paso. That's a long one. That's a long one. I've done coast to coast before and stuff, and I think it is, like you said, it's a mental thing, because you think once you get to the Florida line, you're like, oh, we're in Florida, yeah, and then you're like,
Mhm.
oh man, 8 more hours to go.
Yeah, and that's what happens. It's about 7 or 8 hours to Atlanta, and then that seems like it just goes by fast.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then at that other mark is like, yeah, we're there. No,
yeah.
we're 8 hours away, and
For
you're
8
count. I think
hours.
the problem is you're counting every single hour.
Yeah, and
No.
and plus you go through several states, so it's kind of like you have those accomplishments. You have
Yes.
those little
Yeah.
little wins along the way, and then
Yeah.
when you get to Florida, it's like it's a big win getting to Florida, but it's like a lot of things in life. You haven't gotten there yet, so it's still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
You haven't made it. So like we say on the boats, it doesn't count till all lines are on the dock and secured. Because
That's it.
I've had times where we're come into port, and then like it starts raining, and some of the crew go, "All right, we made it, thanks, Cap." And I'm like, "Hey, we're not there yet." The next thing you know, boom, there goes a generator. Boom, there goes a motor. It's raining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Emergency anchor drop, and then they're
Yeah.
like, "I told you, we're
Yeah.
not there yet." And they're
Don't
like, "Well, I,
celebrate.
I need to go," and I was like, "Well, you can't. We're in this until this is done." That's part of it, and it's being like in your business and flying and stuff, being the go-to guy. I'm okay with taking the hit any way it comes, because at the end of the day, you have to be able to make that decision, good, bad, or indifferent. And sometimes we make the wrong decision, but you got to stick with it until something else comes. That might be the best decision you can make at that time. And it
Yeah.
may not be great for everyone, but it's good enough to get you
Yeah.
out of it.
That's another thing we should probably do an episode on is being committed, because I know
Yes.
we've had a great conversation around commitment of, once you've engaged to take the boat into that dock, you're committed.
Yeah.
And
That's
and
it.
it's not like you can throw it full forward or full reverse. Like, sometimes you just got to take your hands off
Hands
the
off.
controls and say, I'm committed. Whatever's going to happen
What
is.
happened has happened. I think we were talking one time about a boating story. Yourself and I had a similar thing. It was the first captain I worked for. He said, "Look, if I say committed, that means there's nothing I can do. Just stand clear. If you can get a fender in, get a fender in. If not, don't worry about it. We can fix the boat, but we might not be able to fix you.
Right.
So don't put yourself in any harm's way. If it's gonna hit, let it hit."
Yep.
And it's sometimes in life that's what you have to do with certain situations. Like, okay, this is gonna happen, so I'm just gonna have to let it happen. There's nothing I can do that's gonna stop it. I'll just have to do damage control after.
Yep. 100%, man. So we're about time on this episode. This is episode number 1 of the Inner Compass. This is kind of the episodes that's going to go on. We don't know how long, but we decided to do this because Scott and I have done 2 podcasts together, and they were absolutely awesome. He's got his podcast, I've got mine. And we're going to share this on both platforms. Maybe one of these days we end up with exactly the name of the Inner Compass and it's its own podcast standing up on
Yeah,
its own. We don't know. But
yeah,
what we do know is we just want to do this and have fun. Scott and I really enjoy this, and we hope that you guys will like and subscribe and share this with other people, because I know for a fact that I've went back and listened to episodes that Scott and I have done, and they've helped me out. So please do
same
so.
here. Same here, and I would agree, because a lot of times I get a lot of different things each time I listen to our conversations or think back about some of the great conversations we have. So, share it with your friends, share it with your family and stuff. And our main purpose is to help other people and help them get past those roadblocks that we know that we have, and we still have at times, that we know that can help other people. And we want everyone to be successful and to live a better life, and to make those decisions that can bring other happiness to other people.
100%. Well, check out social media, Scott Kidd, Eddie Austin BEX. We're looking forward to putting these episodes out there, and we'll see you on the next one.